Every time this channel says foreigners can buy property in Japan with no restrictions, someone asks a version of the same follow-up. Does that mean buying a house gets you a visa? The honest answer is no, not even close. And understanding exactly where that line sits will save you from planning a move around a mechanism that doesn't exist. Japan has no golden visa, no property-linked residency permit, and no immigration pathway of any kind tied to buying real estate at any price. You can purchase a house for $5,000 or $5 million, and it changes your legal status in Japan by exactly zero. Owning property makes you a property owner. It does not make you a resident, and Japan draws that line more cleanly than many countries this channel's viewers compare it to. Here's the part that surprises people in the other direction. You don't need a visa, a residence card, or any immigration status to buy a house in Japan in the first place. There's no nationality requirement and no minimum time in the country. You can purchase, register, and legally own a Japanese Akiya while living entirely overseas and never having set foot on the property. Buying and living are simply unconnected processes, and that cuts both ways. If the plan is to eventually live in the house, that requires its own separate visa, unrelated to the purchase itself, a work visa tied to a Japanese employer, a spouse visa, a business manager visa if you're starting a company, or one of the other standard categories. None of these get easier or harder because you happen to own property here. A visa officer evaluating a work or business application isn't going to weigh your Akiya purchase one way or the other. This isn't a technicality. It changes what buying a cheap house in Japan can realistically be a first step toward. It's a legitimate first step toward eventually living here if you're already working on a visa pathway through other means, a job offer, a business, a spouse. It is not, on its own, a step toward residency at all. Anyone buying an Akiya with the unstated assumption that ownership will somehow smooth the immigration process is planning around a mechanism that simply isn't there. Buying a Japanese Akiya and moving to Japan are two completely separate decisions with two completely separate sets of requirements. The property purchase has almost no barriers at all. Living here permanently has real ones, and no amount of real estate changes that. Know which decision you're actually making, and neither one will surprise you. If this made Japan's empty house market a little clearer, subscribe to Akiya Handbook, the channel that explains how Japan's cheap houses actually work, honestly, and without selling you anything. There is also a free guide waiting in the description, the Akiya Buyer's Starter Guide, how to buy a cheap house in Japan without getting burned. 11 chapters on the truth about so-called free houses, the hidden costs, and who should not buy. No hype, and completely free. The link is below. Thanks for watching.